boreal forests are typical of the north and broadleaf deciduous forests are typical of the south. Both can be encountered in Latvia. Coniferous or boreal forests in Latvia vary from dark fir forests with rich vegetation to sparse and sunny dry pine forests where ground cover includes white lichen, moss and cowberries. For a forest to be called a natural ecosystem and be a suitable habitat for varied species, it is important for it to contain elements such as forest canopy gaps, deadfall and snags. However, until the 1990s in Latvia, a natural forest was considered to be a forest void of deadfall and snags, and well maintained by humans. Nowadays, too few natural boreal forests remain. Even the forests in protected natural areas have been affected by human activity, which is why nature conservation specialists in Latvia and other European Union member states are working to make forests more natural. Conditions in a sparse pine forest are unique. Only creatures that have adapted to dry, poor and sunny conditions live here. One of the first to flower in a pine forest in spring is the protected spreading pasque flower, and in summer the sand pink delights with its fragrant flower. Latvia's largest beetle, the Tragosoma depsarium, resides in large, sunlit chunks of deadwood, and the wood grouse, our largest forest bird, relies on the sparse and sunny conditions of the pine forest for mating. But this type of forest is becoming rare in Latvia.
Briežu sili šie caurskatāmie, labi izstaigājamie meži ļoti strauji pazūd no Latvijas. Mūsu meža valsts reģistra statistika rāda, ka 10 gadu laikā pazūd apmēram 20%.
The loss of dry pine forests is due to environmental changes.
Šāda veida mežos, kur ir diezgan sausi un ir diezgan labi degoši, bijuši raksturīgi pirmatnējie meža ugunsgrēki. Tas degšanas process pirms tās dzīvās radības radās, jo secība ir tāda, ir kaut kādi vides apstākļi, un tad pie tiem pamazām gadu tūkstošu laikā pielāgojas sugas. Kaut kur tā uguns ir bijusi blakus, gan zibens izraisīta uguns, gan tajos apvidos, kur ir vulkānu darbība, tur bieži un regulāri kaut kas deg.
Scientists continue to discuss where and how often naturally occurring wildfires have taken place, but one thing is certain, sparse pine forests can't exist without the regular burning down of ground cover.
Ja nenotiek meža ugunsgrēki, tad pakāpeniski mainās augu valsts. Ieviešas vispirms jau parasti ķērpi, sūnas, pēc tam nāk dažādas mētras, brūklenes. Un ir tāda lieta, ka visi tie augi, viņiem, protams, ir nobiris, un arī no kokiem krīt dažādas nobiris un veidojās auglīgs trūdes lānītis. Visu laiku notiek tāda bagātināšanās, kļūst bagātāks, vēl auglīgāks. Un tas nozīmē, ka tās radības, kurām vajadzēja tos nabadzīgos, neauglīgos apstākļus, viņām tā vieta vairs nav piemērota.
For centuries, fire has played an important role in the forest. Many organisms have developed, whose survival and reproduction relies on the presence of fire. For example, hardy geranium seeds can only sprout when their waterproof seed coats have heated up from 50 to 100 degrees. And the black fire beetles use infrared receptors to detect fire and locate warm, burning pine bark in which to lay eggs. While scientists occasionally come across the black fire beetles in Latvia, the hardy geranium hasn't been seen in years. Every year, human negligence causes uncontrolled forest fires. But the ones to catch fire are usually economic forests, which do not have a natural structure, and after the fire, deadwood is removed. In the summer of 2002, a fire caused by human intervention occurred also at Coniferous National Park.
Neapšaubām tas bija stipri liels zaudējums, ja tā rēķina cilvēku resursu izmantošanas un finansiālu dzēšanas jautājums. Bet tas, kas attiecas uz dabas vērtībām, tad biologu skatījums uz šo jautājumu ir netik viennozīmīgs, jo dabā ugunsgrēki vienmēr bijuši kā dabīgs process, un viņi ir diezgan regulāri atkārtojušies. Man pašam pēc tam interesanti bija sekot to gadu garumā, kā tā teritorija mainās un attīstās. Tūlīt jau nākošā gadā parādījās briežu sēklas, kas sāka dīgt. Un tad pa gadiem šie kociņi aug lielāki un lielāki.
Though forest fires do cause a lot of damage, most forest inhabitants can cope with them. For example, ants hurry to rebuild their anthill as soon as the fire is out, and clearings in which the topsoil has burnt are ideally suited to ground cedar and bearberries. Young pines can also spread here, and this ensures constant regeneration of the forest. Older pines simply survive the fire.
Tā miza veidojas pakāpeniski un paliek arvien biezāka, un līdz ar to tā karstuma izolācija arvien nopietnāk, un tāpēc, jo vecāka prieda ar biezāku mizu, jo viņai lielākas iespējas izdzīvot ugunsgrēku gadījumā.
Conditions in a burnt forest are characteristic of a natural forest. Young trees grow alongside very old trees that have potentially experienced numerous fires. Some trees die and leave behind deadfall and snags. Biodiversity in such forests is much bigger.
Tas, ka cilvēks cenšas to visu apturēt un nepieļaut, tā ir ekonomiskā problēma, bet nevis dabas problēma. Dedzināšanas paņēmiens ir gan efektīvs un ļoti dabisks paņēmiens, kāpēc lai to nedarīt.
Finland and Sweden have extensive experience in boreal forest restoration. They use both deadwood management and controlled burning methods.
The natural forests stopped at 18th century. We started very slowly with new forest fire in the 70s and 80s. And the main reason to those forest burning was to create habitat for species that hadn't been living there before. And that was very successful. There was a quick response with the species that was coming, and we had a lot of scientific people who was monitoring the burnt forest, and it was very clear that this was something we have to do in the future. Today we have big projects rolling, starting new fires, and in management plan for protected areas it often says that the only management we have to do is to burn.
For controlled burning to be safe, the area is assessed and fire breaks are set up. It's important to estimate the fuel load or amount of combustible materials in the forest. To avoid crown fire, trees and shrubs must be thinned out and removed if necessary. The burning is organised and watched over by professionally trained specialists. After the fire has died out, its area is still monitored for a few days. Even nature conservation areas within the Gauja National Park contain unnatural economic forests. In the nature conservation areas of the Lenčupe and Svetjupe woodlands, compact old pine forests alternate with larger and newer purposely grown pine groves. The bits of old forest are too few and far between to be able to function as they should do ecologically. When forming natural, uninterrupted woodlands, there is a need to ensure that conditions in new groves resemble those of a natural forest. For this reason, in 2013, the Nature Conservation Agency launched the project Forest Habitat Restoration within the Gauja National Park in the area.
Plānotās aktivitātes bija gradzenošana, atvērumu veidošana, audzes retināšana arī un kontrolētā zemesēdzes dedzināšana.
Kopumā šai mežā, to arī var redzēt, ļoti pietrūks šīs mirušās koksnes. Nav atstāti ne kritušie koki, ne stāv skaltušie koki, kas mežam būtu ļoti vajadzīgi gan kukaiņiem, gan putniem. Un tāpēc mēs šajos atvērumos veidojam speciāli vairākus elementus, lai šī mirusī koksne izveidotos no jauna. Tātad viens paņēmiens ir nozāģēt vienkārši kokus, un viņi tepatās paliek guļot zemē. Otrs veids, kā mēs radam mirušo koksni, tas ir gredzenojot, un tādā veidā koks lēnām nokaltīs. Un trešais veids ir augsto stumbeņu veidošana, kur 3–5 metru augstumā koks tiek nozāģēts un lēnām šīs daļas nokalst.
The plan had been to employ controlled burning to complete the forest habitat restoration, but this was met by resistance from the local community.
Un vai tiešām nav iespējams atrast šādam te pētījumam ārpus Gaujas nacionālā parka? Degšana ir degšana, vai tā kontrolēt vai bez kontrols. Vai cilvēkiem Gaujas nacionālā parkā ir vajadzīga šī mākslīgi radītā dabas daudzveidība? Es ar pārliecību varu teikt, rokas nost no Latvijas mežiem. Atbalstiet mani! Rokas nost no Latvijas mežiem! Rokas nost no Latvijas!
It's easy to explain the community's resistance towards the forest restoration practices in Gauja National Park. For many years, well-kept forests were a symbol of the park and appeared in all the park's promotional materials. Until the 21st century, even the park's employees used traditional methods to maintain the forest. Over the years, people's attitude towards the presence of fire in a forest has changed. During the Soviet era, it was seen only as a threat, whereas nowadays, controlled burning of ground cover is an internationally acclaimed boreal forest management system.
Latvijā nav tradīciju šādai meža apsaimniekošanas, meža biotopu apsaimniekošanas veidam. Cilvēki varbūt to iztēlojas savādāk. Liekas, ka viens ies un šķils sēkociņu un tad bēgs, un nav tādi, tiksim, piemēri. Ja mums būtu šis piemērs, mēs arī varētu cilvēkiem skaidrot tālāk, kāpēc tas ir vajadzīgs un nepieciešams dabas daudzveidībai.
The trip to Finland's national parks was a chance for residents and staff of the Gauja National Park to learn from their neighbour countries' experience in the field and change attitudes towards the different methods of forest restoration.
We have burned in Finland these restoration burnings about 20 years. There are, of course, two things that say the rules. One is safety. You must not let the fire go outside areas. And the other is economical.
Es savā mežā šīs aktivitātes negribu, jo katrs privātīpašnieks ir tā kā komerciāli noskaņots kaut kādu labumu gūt no savu īpašumu. Ja? Šitā ir tīri dabas aizsardzības tā lieta. Bet to rūpi, valstisko rūpi un to kopējo Eiropas rūpi, kāpēc tā daudzveidība vajadzīga, es tagad saprotu.
Domāju, ka vairāk 80% iedzīvotāji, kuri ieklausās šajos jaunumos, kas saistīti tieši ar dabas aizsardzības aktivitātēm, ka viņiem nebija problēma ar kontrolēto zemesēdzes dedzināšanu.
Ja katrā valstī mēs ļausim kaut kam pazust, tad pa visām valstīm kopā kaut kas mums izzudīs no zemeslodes, pa visām. Un to mēs varam teikt arī pilnīgi droši par sugām, kuras atkarīgas no uguns. Gan sugu, gan ainavas dēļ noteikti ir vērts vismaz daļā no Latvijas mēģināt uzturēt šīs te vērtības. Un gal galā to mēs esam arī apņēmušies savās starptautiskajās saistībās, paši savos likumos. Un tam ir vajadzīga kontrolētā dedzināšana, bez tā nevar iztikt.
Boreal forest restoration by means of controlled burning and deadwood management is a new approach and demands a change in thinking. However, its use in nature conservation areas will allow for us to preserve the landscapes that is typical of dry and sparse pine forests and let future generations enjoy it too.